Good morning. Good morning and welcome to another very beautiful day on the Sunshine Coast, and thank you very much for joining us to celebrate National Reconciliation Week and to launch the recently adopted Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Action Plan 2017 to 2019. My name is Coralie Nichols and I'm Council's Director of Community Services, and it's my very great pleasure to be your MC today. Before commencing this morning's event, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, pay our respects to the elders both past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and hopes of all Indigenous people. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests this morning. We have with us this morning Mayor Mark Jamieson, Councillor Jenny Mackay, Councillor Greg Rogerson and our local state member for Buderim, Mr Steve Dixon. I'd also like to acknowledge Council's CEO, Mike Whittaker, the traditional owners and representatives from the Kabi and the Jinnabara First Nations people, representatives of the Torres Strait Islander community, service providers, community organisations, council staff and the community. This year's National Reconciliation Week is of particular significance. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the 1967 referendum, when 90% of Australians voted to give the Commonwealth the power to make laws for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and to recognise them in the national census. It also, remarkably, is the 25th anniversary of the landmark Mabo decision, which recognises Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's relationship to the land, paving the way for land rights or native title. To commence the proceedings, please now welcome to the podium Helena Goulash, who will perform the traditional Welcome to Country. Thanks, Helena. This is just moving for some reason.
Some being locked down.
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you, Coralie. And good morning, everyone. It's an honour and a privilege to be invited here as a Kabi person to officially welcome you to Kabi country, the country of Kabi First Nations, large group, which includes many other smaller groups, and we have been the original inhabitants and custodians of this beautiful Sunshine Coast area for tens of thousands of years. I would like to acknowledge the Mayor and councillors and the local member and the many other distinguished guests today. It is a very important time, as Coralie has outlined. It's a significant period for Reconciliation Week and also for marking the 67 referendum and also the landmark Mabo decision. Today I just want to very briefly acknowledge and congratulate the Council on the Reconciliation Action Plan, particularly in relation to the inclusion of the establishment of an Indigenous advisory group and also the inclusion of a recommendation, a commitment to be meeting with Kabi First Nations and Jinnabara peoples. Jinnabara are our neighbouring group. Jinnabara First Nations as the traditional owners, custodians of the area that the Sunshine Coast Council is responsible for. I'd also like to mention that I can't help but be focused on what's happened at Uluru during the past weekend. It is a very exciting time, and it's appropriate that Uluru gathering has taken place at this very important stage of the development of our nation and for Indigenous peoples. I'm not usually one to read. I can talk all day without reading anything. But I do think it is very important to acknowledge what has been decided or what has been put forward out at Uluru. And I'm not sure if people have had a chance to catch up on the local media. This is a big article from the Weekend Australian. Very good coverage. That's the opening ceremony pictured. But I do think it's very important to just acknowledge what has come out of it. And I'm just going to read a couple of things very briefly. The Uluru Statement, which is being called the Statement from the Heart. The Uluru Statement rejects symbolic minimalism in favour of practical reform. Practical reform. It calls for a constitutionally enshrined voice, an Indigenous voice, a national Indigenous voice, as well as an Indigenous voice throughout all the nations across our country. An Indigenous voice in political decision-making affecting our people. And it endorses a makarata between us and the Commonwealth. The makarata is a term that was used many years ago as another term for treaty. It's a language word from the Far Northern Territory area, and it really means coming together after a dispute, two sides coming together. So that is a very strong statement. So it is about a strong Indigenous voice, and it's also about actually being involved in the decision-making country within the federal government of this country. Again, quoting from the article, we seek constitutional reforms to empower our people to take a rightful place in our own country. When we have power over our destiny, our children will flourish. They will walk in two worlds, and their culture will be a gift to their country. We call for the establishment of a First Nations voice enshrined in the Constitution. From the perspective of a Kabi Kabi person as a traditional owner custodian, this is a very, very important statement and a very important step in the political development within Australia. And while they're focused on the federal government, the statement that reflects over 1,000 people in attendance also focused very much on moving down through the different layers of government, the state government and the local government levels. So from a Kabi Kabi perspective, it is of vital importance to us that we consider the two main points here. One is that we have a clear Indigenous voice, from our perspective, a clear Kabi Kabi voice in relation to our country. Two, that we share in the political decision-making process as it affects our people and our country. So I'd just like to close by reading one final statement from the article. The Uluru Statement from the Heart confirms that constitutional recognition, that constitutional recognition must ensure the forgotten peoples, the peoples wrongfully omitted from the Constitutional Compact, a voice in our own affairs. This would extend the principles of mutual respect and comity to Australia's relationship with the First Peoples of this land. It is a proposition that Australians can accept. I would like to close on that note. It is a strong plea from myself here speaking on behalf of our Kabi Kabi peoples as an applicant for our currently registered native title claim, which recognises us as the traditional inhabitants, occupants and custodians of our country. and as an applicant who is now in the process of working towards realising determination of that claim. All of our evidence has been accepted by the highest courts at the federal level and by the state government levels. So we are really excited about the opportunity to have a stronger Kabi Kabi traditional owner voice here on our country. We are really excited about what the future can bring if we work much more closely with you, Mr Mayor, and with your fellow councillors to really look at how we can be involved in some of the important political decision making that impacts on the development, the protection of our areas of high cultural significance and our sacred places and many, many other areas. We want more and more Kabi Kabi peoples to come home. It has been a sad history on our country, and we are looking forward to a bright future for future generations. We want our future generations to have jobs, to have places to live here on our country and to be able to contribute fully. Kabi Kabi peoples have always contributed to the development of this wonderful Sunshine Coast area, right from the earliest stages where they helped to show the botanists, the surveyors, how to move around our country through our old pathways that became the roads, how they helped them, the early newcomers, to find food to be able to survive, how they helped in many, many other ways in those very earliest stages, and how we've continued to help to further the cultural development, and we hope to be able to play a bigger role in the economic development of the Sunshine Coast. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here today. Wanya Nullam, welcome everyone to this beautiful, beautiful country.
Thank you, Helena. That was wonderful. Helena, Makarrata is a Yolngu word from East Arnhem, and you hear it quite regularly up there. So for it to become part of the language nationally and the significance and the meaning of that will be really quite something. And, you know, Helena Goulash is really quite something too, and it's a tremendous privilege to have her with us today. And for the people that know Helena and know what she brings to country for the Kabi Kabi Nation, and just the history too that Helena has recorded around her nation. It's great that you could join us, so thank you very much for allowing us to have you here today. The theme for this year's National Reconciliation Week is Let's Take the Next Steps, and I think that is a great theme, and it's now my very great pleasure to introduce Maggie Ross, who's the Treasurer and the Acting Secretary of the Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Group, to say a few words on the importance of the milestones being commemorated this year and the important work that Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Group are doing to advance reconciliation here in our community. Come on down, Maggie.
Thank you. I must say I didn't really expect to be here today, standing here. But on behalf of the Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Group, we also acknowledge the traditional custodians of this part of our great southern land, and we pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. For myself, I am truly sorry for the injustices of the past, but I am really grateful for the opportunity to live on this land now and to share in your culture. The formal reconciliation actually, I'm thinking, means pretty much what Helena just said, and I only just come across that word when I was thinking maybe Kerry would dump this on me. And so it's really great to hear how it's supposed to be pronounced, and I'm shocking at languages, as my grandchildren who speak fluent Arabic will tell you. The reconciliation means a coming together and to understand and respect each other, which is the keystone to world peace. If only we could accomplish that. It's not that hard, really. The formal reconciliation process began after the Royal Commission into the Black Deaths in Custody in 1991. The Sunshine Coast reconciliation grew out of other people wanting to be involved in the reconciliation process other than those in the Caloundra Catholic Church social justice group. We who are following in their footsteps have big shoes to fill, and we are doing our best. We invite anyone along. Reconciliation for us is between our First Nations people and everyone else. Doesn't matter where we come from or who we are. It's pleasing to and really exciting that we receive support from individuals within the community little old ladies who sit and knit and sew and crochet. They give us so much stuff that we can hardly deal with it all. We receive support from other community groups like Linus in Nambour, like a sewing group at the Kawana Library. There's a group at Curramundi. All these people do these things and they give us all these things. We then have to disperse them. It costs $17 per satchel to send them. We've been fortunate enough to get 50 satchels free last year and this year from Australia Post, but we then have to fundraise to send others. And there's a stack of stuff sitting in Jenny Cronin's garage right now waiting to be sent. We've also received support from associations, Suncare, Life Without Barriers, North Coast Community Health, Uniting Care. They're sponsors, and one of our most continuing and appreciated sponsorship is the Sunshine Coast Council. We really appreciate the grants that they've given us and continue to give us, and also the support that they've given us with Kim Price, who heads us in the right direction with her expertise. We're very appreciative of all of that. I was present at the launch of the draft RAP Reconciliation Action Plan. I think that was around 2012. And that was at Kabali. And I put my hand in the paint and did all this with Debbie Blummel at the time. So it's that long ago. And this is a wonderful thing to be here today with the launch of your innovative RAP. And I can't wait to see you continue with the other levels of the RAP, which I know you will, because I think you've already gone past the innovate stage, seems to me. But thank you very much. And on behalf of the Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Group, we're now incorporated. We are still associated with Reconciliation Queensland, who's associated with Reconciliation Australia. But yes, we are very appreciative of all the help we get, but especially the Sunshine Coast Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. That was a heck of a stand-in speech. Very well done. Helena reminds us that it's really important to move from symbolism to deep, meaningful engagement and relationships and understanding. So it's a lovely opportunity this morning for Council to publicly commit to this. And as such, I'm now going to invite our Mayor, Mark Jamieson, to the lectern to officially launch the newly adopted Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Action Plan. Mark, if you'd like to come forward and do that, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's really lovely to be here with you to share on this very special occasion. In the spirit of reconciliation, I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land on which we gather, and pay my respects to elders both past, present and future, for they hold the memories, the traditions, the culture and indeed the hopes of all Indigenous people. Let me acknowledge the traditional owner representatives from the Kabi and Jinnabara First Nations who are here with us today. I'm led to believe we don't have a representative today from the Torres Strait Island, but I would like to also recognise the Torres Strait Islander community, our community service portfolio councillor from Division 5, Councillor Jenny Mackay, and our councillor from Division 10, Councillor Greg Rogerson. Also state members Steve Dixon from Buderim and Mark McCardle from Caloundra. Community members, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Can I also extend an apology from the Deputy Mayor, Tim Dwyer, who was very eager to be here, but is unfortunately, we had to send him to Adelaide on some other business for council. I want to acknowledge Helena's very spirited opening and congratulate her on that, and welcome you all here today to the Sunshine Coast, or the launch of the Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Action Plan for 2017-19. It's fitting for Council to launch the new Reconciliation Action Plan during National Reconciliation Week, which has the annual theme, as you've been advised, of let's take the next steps. And clearly, from what Christina and Maggie have said, you know, those next steps are very important. And we've heard this morning that this year's National Reconciliation Week is of particular significance not only to the Australian community, but in particular to our Indigenous communities. It commemorates 50 years since the 1967 referendum and 25 years since the historic Mabo decision. And during the recent Indigenous round of the National Rugby League, I had the pleasure and honour of meeting Eddie Mabo's daughter, Gail Mabo. 6 years ago, the Sunshine Coast Council was the first local government in Queensland to develop a reconciliation action plan in partnership with Reconciliation Australia. We can be proud of our journey and our achievements in progressing reconciliation over that time. However, as has been clearly indicated, we still have much to do in closing the gap in Indigenous disadvantage for our local communities. This is our second Reconciliation Action Plan, and it further strengthens our capabilities to work more collaboratively with our key stakeholders and the growing population of local Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community as we make our shared journey towards true reconciliation. Our Sunshine Coast Social Strategy 2015 and our Corporate Plan 2017 to 21 articulate a goal of a strong community where in all our communities people are included, treated with respect, and opportunities are available for everyone. Council continues to show our commitment to reconciliation by endorsing this renewed, innovative Reconciliation Action Plan. The plan outlines the actions Council and its partners will take to build strong relationships and enhance respect between the region's Kabi and Jinnabara First Nations peoples and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people from other First Nation groups. It highlights the important role that our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities play in the social, economic and cultural growth of our Great Sunshine Coast region. It includes the establishment of a First Peoples Advisory Committee, which will assist Council in the implementation of the new Reconciliation Action Plan for the Sunshine Coast, while more traditional and contemporary Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural activities will be incorporated in Council's major creative events program. Ladies and gentlemen, this milestone is another solid step forward on our reconciliation journey. I'd like to acknowledge the assistance of Reconciliation Australia and their collaboration to finalise this new plan that will guide our organisation and our community over the next 2 years. To commemorate National Reconciliation Week, a flag-raising ceremony and traditional performance will add to this milestone of officially launching our new Sunshine Coast Reconciliation Action Plan. At the conclusion of today's event, I would invite you to join me and the councillors and our dignitaries at the Caloundra Regional Gallery for some light refreshments and to view the Review art exhibition. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here this morning and best wishes to you all. Thank you. You want to do the flag raising? Yep. We're going to do the flag raising ceremony now, and I just want to verify that we don't have a representative from the Torres Strait Islands, and that being the case, That being the case, I will accept the honour of raising the Torres Strait flag along with Helena and Uncle Alan from the Bidjara Nation, who will raise the Indigenous flag. And I do that recognising the people of the Torres Strait and my mayoral colleagues, Mayor Fred Gieler from the Torres Strait Island Regional Council and Mayor Vonda Malone from the Torres Strait Islander Shire Council. And I visited them not so long ago in the Torres Strait. So it's my honour to raise that flag today.
So thank you to our flag raisers, Helena Goulash, Uncle Alan from the Bidjara Nation and the Mayor. To conclude our official proceedings this morning, before we head over, as you've been invited by the Mayor to the Caloundra Gallery, I'd now like to welcome Brent and the Gubby Gubby Dance Troupe for a traditional performance. Thanks, Brent.
Wanya Nalam. What I like to say, Wanya Yin Yammani. Wanya is a good way of saying hello. And I tell everybody still today, every time I jump on this microphone, I always say this, Wanya is a good way of saying hello. Because what it actually means, well, it means who, how, where. And when you put other words to it, Wanya Nalam, it means to everybody, who, how, or where. Well, then you go, Wanya Yin Yammani. And that's when it gets tricky. It means who are you, how are you, or how you're going, and where you're from. To us, I reckon this is a really good way of saying hello because you get to know someone. You go and have a yarn with someone, and I think this is a true Australian way, and we still do it. I listen to the elders all the time. They always do that same thing. They meet someone for the first time. Who are you? How you going? Where you from? We want to know your story. We want to know where you're from. And as I've been growing up, I've been doing the same thing. I meet a lot of people, and especially where Grandma is, she lives in a retirement village, and go next door and say the same thing. And the stories that come out about our history here on the Sunshine Coast is unbelievable. They talk of a time before many buildings were built. They're talking about when this is all cane farm. Before that, pineapple farms. Before that, all these different stories around here and what the people were like around these areas. So to me, Wanya Nalam's a good one. And today, well, I brought my nephews and niece with me. They are the next generations, and it's really good to see them actually coming out into their own and learning these dances, but most importantly learning these songs and about our history of this country. So where we are, place of Caloundra, so the white beech tree. Around the Sunshine Coast we have many of those names, and they're talking about them plants and animals of this country. The reason why they're named after that is because there's an abundance of that plant or abundance of that animal in that certain piece of country. Take, for example, where I was born. I was born in the place of, tomorrow, Number, place of the red flowering paperbark tree, what we call Namble. Or we can go to grandmother's country, place of Batarum, place of the hairpinned honeysuckle tree, or Budrum. Or grandfather's country, place of Mulu, place of the red-bellied black snake, Mululabar. So we always have all these beautiful places here. And this is why we're here. We want to give that story to you. We want to let everyone know that all this information is still here. If you live here and you walk this land, you must know these information, because we got told every plant here has a purpose, has a meaning. Every animal has a purpose, has a meaning. It's up to us to find out that information. And it's our duty. We want to give this information to you. And like our family have been doing countless generations before, being those traditional custodians, we feel that this is our role of doing it. So on behalf of the dancers, I'd like to say thank you very much for inviting us here. We're actually going to do a couple of dances from these areas. And the first one we're actually going to use this as a welcome. It's one of the most popular songs we got here. Many different languages around these areas know this song. And it is, well, I like to use it as a welcome because of that fact that it was traded over a great deal of country. And this one comes around the Bunya Mountains, so the two spots. So Black Oil Range, Maleny, and also down west in Waka Waka country there, the Bunya Mountains there. In these times, this is where that song was traded. And then when they traded their song to the neighbours would take it home, trade their song to their neighbours, trade it again when they get home, trade it to their neighbours. So you'll find that this song is spread over a great deal of country, and a lot of people know it. And we'd actually like to do this one for you. This one, talking about sitting here, walking this land, going out for your murang, for your meat, and then coming back home to your juggin. Feels kind of weird as a songman. Usually I'm not the songman, usually I'm the dancer. But Big Brother's a bit crook at the moment, so I thought I'd better put this onto my shoulders and carry it on. Which is good, I don't have to dance. I love it. But the main problem is I can't see if the dancers are doing any good. So I'm counting on you to tell me if they're doing good or not. Thank you, Uncle. Well, this next dance we're actually going to do is actually quite an important one, I reckon, from around these areas, because it is the time right now. And this is the time of what we call Julara. And Julara is a red stringy bark tree. Now at this moment, it's actually starting to shed. It's a very important indicator because that's telling us that Julara, the diamond scale sea mullet, are actually doing their migration from the southern waters all the way up into here. Between Stradbroke and Fraser Island, they'll come all the way up into the creeks and into the rivers, into the shallow waters, the warm waters, so they can lay their eggs and spawn. When we see that tree shedding its bark, it's telling us now, get down to the beach, get your spears ready, and sit on the beach and you wait. When you wait, you actually look for more signs. And this sign was of Gunga. And Gunga is a white-chested sea eagle. We call him Gunga because that's the noise he makes. And what he's doing, he's actually flying up high, following those big schools of mullet. And when he's doing that, when we see Gunga, we look down and we see the water is black. And we know when the water is black, we know that's full of fish. But still, we're not allowed to hunt for that fish. We still have to wait for Gunga. And Gunga, what he does, he makes his first strike. When he makes his first strike, that's telling us it's time to do our hunting. So where he struck, we strike in exactly the same spot because he's hunting in the middle of the school. He never goes up to the front and takes the leader fish or the gabanya. And those Gabanya are the old ones. So the season before that, they were Julara. They were being led to the place where they were born. Now they're leading the younger fish to go to their place of birth. So they were always protected, and we made sure they were always protected. But we hunt for the middle of the school, so young Julara, young mullet. And then when Gunga flies off, that is our time then to jump into the waters and then start netting us fish and spearing them. Mullet were actually so plentiful here that when you make real long barbs on your spear, you throw your spear in there, and sometimes you'd actually catch 2 or 3 mullet all in one hit. So it was plentiful. Even stories when Dad was young, he used to go all the way into Nambour when the mullet used to go all the way up the creek. He said he never took a spear, never took a fishing rod, he took a stone and a big stick. He said it was that plentiful there, you just throw the stone in the water and start beating the water with the stick, and you grab your mullet. Take the bit home for Grandma, and then he would ride about 13 k's with one mullet to go fishing again. He was a mad fisherman. But this one here, this is that story of Gunga, the white-chested sea eagle. Yo, Gunga Garanya, yo, boy, man! Good work, thank you very much. Now, we want to teach you about this next one. So, like I was saying, there's all these indicators around here, and indicators will always tell you what's going on in your country. I reckon the best one that can tell you what's going on in your country are ants. Ants are awesome, they're good weathermen. They can tell you when it's hot, they can tell you when it's cold, they can tell you when it's actually floods coming. Another good indicator too is weow, and weow is the black cockatoo. We always got told the story when we were young. You see the black cockatoo flying down low, and when he's flying away, you look behind him, and you always see the clouds coming. We always said that fellow doesn't like the rain, he's being chased by those clouds all the time, the clouds are always chasing him. So we always said, when we see that black cockatoo, when we see weow flying down low, we count the numbers. Sometimes that can tell you the degree of how much rain's coming. If there's one, they might get a light shower. If they're flying up high in a big swarm, well, you know, they might be a little scud coming through. But we always know when the weow's flying down low, rain's not too far behind. So we like to do this one, and this one is a song of weow, the black cockatoo. But I must say, on behalf of our family, I want to thank you very much for inviting us, for giving us the opportunity to speak about this country. Because this is information we all should know. And this is information that I'm more than happy to give. Because this was taught to me by my family, and I'd like to share this with you as well. Because, like I said, we Gurringnan and Army, we all sit here, we all walk this land. We all have that roles and responsibilities to take care of our environment, whatever our environment must be. So we're going to finish off with this song, and it's a song that we started off with. We love singing this song. These kids have been singing it ever since, or dancing it ever since they could walk. Even before they could walk, they were trying to dance it, so it's really good to see. And like I said, this song, Gurringnan and Army, Jojomo Birano, Gaimang Morangai Jangunga Nyongo. But there's a next verse to it. We just got taught this quite a few years ago. And this verse is actually talking about that big bunya festival. So from December through to March, this is when this big bunya tree would actually fruit. And every third year would be a bumper crop, so to yield the most fruit. And this is when the invitation was sent out within 500 kilometres in each radius for people to come into this area, because you know you're going to get fed well for 4 months. This is a very important time because this is when people come in here, law would be exchanged, see what the new law is, see what the old laws are. Fights would be settled between family groups or clan groups around these areas. Marriages would be arranged too. So any young fellas coming up of age, and if they were promised, well then they'd go there to organise all that. Same with the girls too. But also fun and games, sporting activities, and like I said, sharing of the songs, sharing of each other's culture. So we'll sing this one as a farewell. I'd like to say, Galangonyen, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Gayang mangmarangai jagun gun ganyongo. Gayang mangmarangai jagun gun ganyongo. Gayang mangmarangai jagun gun ganyongo. Gareng nenaname ajo jamo berono. Gareng nenaname ajo jamo berono. Berengo najo banji jimi. Berengo najo banji jimi. Berengo najo banji jimi. Berengo najo banji jimi. Jagan vara no jano junno goji. Jagan vara no junno goji. Jagan vara no junno goji. Gareng nenaname ajo jamo berono. Gareng nenaname ajo jamo berono. Chupr chai.
Rich, I think you make a great songman. And on behalf of all of us here, please pass our love to Lyndon and best wishes for a speedy recovery. Thank you very much. So coming together this morning, we all have acknowledged the importance of reconciliation, and I encourage all members of our local community to get involved and support reconciliation for all Australians. So for everyone that's joined us here today, our staff internally who thought it was important to turn up, thank you. To the staff that organised this wonderful morning, to the community that come and join us, and most importantly, to the traditional owners, the First Nations people, thank you for having us. This concludes the formalities for this morning. Please feel free to head across to the gallery and enjoy a bush tucker morning tea. Thank you for your time.